and welcome to Moreness-Culture. Good morning, Syl. Good morning, Brain, hopefully. And good morning to everyone who is going to join us live and will watch us recorded. You all are most welcome. This is a place we are sharing because Syl has created this space where you can be not only yourself, but you can be more. Having aspiration to be more than who you are right now is a big, huge deal in life. And of course, I always call it a big, huge blessing in life. I don't know that, okay, where else you can actually be deliberately invited to be more than who you are right now, really. And this is something really, really huge. And if you guys are watching us, and if you find this, and if you are keen and curious to know what is being more about, please do join us and always connect with us. We are open, we love sharing, and this is what we are doing. So always emphasize on capital S sharing, and this is our motto: not to tell anything, not to try to give you any advice or anything, but just sharing what we have been shared by other people, of course, and universe also. Sometimes it is not necessary that other people are involved into the sharing, then the universe. Who else can share more generously than universe? Universe always shares, always share. And one more thing about sharing, that this is which is very important, because mostly very good earnest people, spiritual people, I don't know what else you want to call them, really, really good human beings and beings, they have this idea, a bit of not very clear, but still they have this subconsciously, we assume that the sharing is just giving. Sharing cannot be done if you are not receiving. Sharing means that it needs to one to give and one to receive. You don't need to be always at the giving end to share. You can always be
sharing is one way. Fine.
No, but you have to, like, you can be sharing, capital S sharing, even when you are at the receiving. This is the magic of capital S sharing. Because otherwise, if you are not there to perceive, to receive openly, no one can share with you. This is the magic of capital S sharing. So please be very clear about this, because we have some reluctance about, like, okay, oh yes, I'm again at the receiving end. Oh, I'm the one who is always receiving. No, you are the one who is doing the part, 50% part of share. So please be very comfortable in yourself when you are receiving, because you are receiving, because universe wants to share with you. The medium, the source can be anyone. It can be Syl, it can be Don Juan, it can be Carlos, it can be me, it can be you, it can be anything, anything in the world. But if you are sharing, if you have been part of this process of sharing, you are doing the 50%. So it is very much, you are very much eligible to actually receive that. So don't assume that, okay, this is something, oh yes, I'm just getting you all this thing free. And this is the mindset we need to actually shift, because this idea, oh, I'm always at the receiving end, or I'm the one who always give, this is something comes from the superiority paradigm. This is not the Moreness paradigm. This is not the Moreness culture. Because in Moreness culture, one can only share if someone is open to receive. That's why they both are equal in the process. And this equality, this no superiority, no, okay, I'm lower and you are higher and you are higher and I'm lower. This no nonsense there. This is the beauty of Moreness culture, which I really love, because I am useful. I am needed in this process. And I have experienced this throughout my journey so far in Moreness culture, that if you have this clarity, then you will not hesitate to grab opportunities in your life. This is the shift we need. This is the shift we need to have this profoundness in life. Otherwise, opportunities will come, they will knock on your door, they will bang on your door, but still you will not open that door, because, oh, how can I do this? Because you want to be something, you want to be an upper hand, that's the idea. Even if you are not doing this, it is coming from the superiority mindset. And this is what we are completely opposite of, like the Moreness culture. This is the replacement we have. And having a replacement of something is a huge, huge deal. You know what the fairy tales were doing? They were providing a fairy replacement for us. Okay, what is the opposite of, or the replacement of these harsh realities? You get indulged into something very nice, all lovey-dovey on the surface. That was the replacement. That's why we love them. And then, of course, some other genre. And then, of course, now the awareness is getting more refined and more refined and more refined. Now, human mind is not very comfortable with just playing with the fairy tales. I'm not saying it any derogatory way. They have their own value. Fairy tales were doing a part because they were providing us a replacement. Yes, not very sophisticated, not providing a resolution for so many things, providing us some sort of indulgence, but still they were doing its part. And it was appropriate at the time. But now, in this age, in this era, where we have AI, which is okay, really uh, outclassing all of us, like really moving very rapidly. And this is the magic of learning and growing. You can only compete with, you can only be relevant and stay relevant in the now if you will keep updating yourself. And to update yourself, yes, sometimes we feel stuck. The stuckness comes only when we don't have any replacement. If not this, then what? That's why we cling to the idea. Like then acrobat, like okay, if they will not have this, okay, yes, I'm going to just let it go and then I will grab the other one. Because they know that they have a replacement. To leave the swing. This having a replacement in your life, in our life, is so important, so precious, so crucial. And now we have to excuse because the Moreness-Culture is one of the replacement available. I'm not saying this is the only replacement, but this is one of the replacement, at least in my knowledge, one replacement right now. I'm just saying that, okay, there's always more, so more will come. But right now, we have this replacement from the conventional mindset, from the conventional paradigm to shift to Moreness-Culture. And this is very much applicable. This is very much practical in our life. We can apply in every aspect of our life. And I'm saying in every aspect, I apply Moreness-Culture in my cooking. I apply Moreness-Culture when I'm dealing with my house help. I'm applying Moreness-Culture when I'm dealing with my illness. I'm applying Moreness-Culture. I do try to. Of course, I'm not always successful. I'm not always perfect, of course, but I'm trying to incorporate in every aspect of life. Having relationship in terms of, okay, with your parents, with your neighbors, with your colleagues, with your friends, with everyone, with your children. If you have some understanding of Moreness-Culture, you are able to transform your relationships entirely. You will not get trapped into any not so good relationship ever. You don't need to care about the red flags because you know that how to deal with it. And you know that, okay, this is something I'm not going to be. And then, of course, when you will have the Moreness energy in you, you will not attract some nonsense. Yes, sometimes still it happens, but they come via attunement. Of course, they are going to be there for some learning and also providing you an opportunity to exercise and practice your Moreness understandings. So yes, Moreness-Culture is transformation, real transformation in your life, which you are going to do. Not anyone else, no life coach, no one. I really, this life coach term is very abusive for me, like a horse coach. Like someone is giving you, do this, do this, do this. No, we don't have this here. So you can always do this by yourself. All you need to do is be deliberately paying attention to what you are choosing in your life. Like right now, it is available. Be a bit deliberate and put some effort and energy and just engage.
Exactly.
So this was my part of the day. Yes.
Oh, I love it. I love it, Beena. Most excellently wonderful. I want to say one thing about as a participant in Moreness-Culture.
Yes.
You don't need to have anything at all. There's no requirement. No requirement. Moreness-Culture celebrates your difference. Now, yes, it celebrates goodness. We aren't going to celebrate your difference if you're a criminal necessarily, right? Yeah, but you don't need to bring anything. You don't have to have any qualifications or any knowledge or anything like this. That's what I mean, right? Not like in most things, there's some sort of a entry level that you have to have something to join the group or the No, not here. You can be whoever you are as long as you're real. That's it. Just be real. Just be real. Be who you are. We celebrate your difference. And being a participant when it comes to sharing is huge, right? In other words, you can think of it from like a sporting analogy, right? Professional sports. Without the fans, what is professional sports?
Nothing.
Ceases to exist. Yeah. So when you
Yes.
think of them as sharing, professional athletes sharing, musicians, artists, right? Professional musicians, artists, ever. Without their fans, they cease to exist. Sharing is somewhat similar, but sharing is a magic also that I can share without any participants. I want to make that very clear, right? But in Moreness-Culture, if you're going to participate, all you need to do is participate. That's it. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to contribute. You just have to be there, right? Very important to understand this. Subtle differences, but very big though, right? So there's no expectations from you, in other words, right? And you're not being judged. You're not being evaluated because there's no hierarchy in Moreness-Culture. Zero. No hierarchy. All right, Beena, when we looked at that earlier, when we looked at the Carlos, the text, do you remember where we were? What the sentence was? You read it there?
Yes, it was like laughed something about. So
okay. All right. I think okay. So now, all right. You know what? I haven't started TikTok yet. Let me start TikTok. Well, so TikTokers can join us. Sorry, TikTokers, I forgot to stop this.
Yes. And okay, in the meantime, if you are doing this, busy with, I'm going to share my experience with. Yes. Okay. Then it's good. Then it's good.
All right. So all I wanted to say is Beena with oh no, sound detected. Ah, come on now. It says no sound detected, but well, that's just because I wasn't talking TikTok. Really get serious. All right, so we TikTok. But what I noticed with TikTok is that when I go do the screen share, it doesn't detect activity. It doesn't see movement in the video, and then it thinks we are not live. So I have to end the screen share and just stop screen share and start again every now and then. Right, Beena?
Yes.
So I'll just have to remember to do that. Yeah, it's very peculiar. It's just an oddity of TikToks that I have to do this. Okay. All right. Let's screen share and continue our reading. So we were with Don Juan talking about controlled folly. Yeah. Yeah, TikTok just works very differently to everything. Well, so far, I think there are different ways to
I found his comparison. Yes. Funny and I laughed. Yeah. This was the page.
Right. Okay. I talk to you because you make me laugh. You remind me of some bushy-tailed rats of the desert that get caught when they stick their tails in holes trying to scare other rats away in order to steal their food. You get caught in your own questions. Watch out. Sometimes those rats yank their tails off trying to pull themselves free. Beena?
Yes.
Okay, you read now. We'll do the shared reading.
Okay, but it is still blur for me, so that's why.
Yes,
it's not easy to read. It is, I can, but it is not easy.
All right, I'll read it. Tell me when it comes clear, and then you read. And I like it when we both read. It's very nice.
Oh yes.
I found it comparison funny. Oh, while you're doing that, actually, will you check the messages in Messenger? There seem to be a whole bunch there.
Yeah. Okay.
I found his comparison funny, and I laughed. Don Juan had once shown me some small rodents with bushy tails that looked like fat squirrels. The image of those chubby rats yanking its tail off was sad and at the same time morbidly funny. My laughter, as well as everything I do, is real, but also is controlled folly because it is useless. It changes nothing, and yet I still do it. But as I understand it, Don Juan, your laughter is not useless. It makes you happy. No, I am happy because I choose to look at things that make me happy. And then my eyes catch their funny edge and I laugh. I have said this to you countless times. One must always choose the path with heart in order to be at one's best. Perhaps so one can always laugh. I interpreted what he had said as meaning that crying was inferior to laughter, or at least perhaps an act that weakened us. He asserted that there was no intrinsic difference and that both were unimportant. He said, however, that his preference was laughter, because laughter made his body feel better than crying. Right? Right. You see here it says, it is detected that live chat didn't appear on your screen in the past 2 minutes. Try using a mobile device. That's just because I'm screen sharing TikTok. I mean, really now, are you this silly? Are you this foolish that you can't see this difference now? I don't know. Anyway, it worked before, so I got a couple people joining. So hello TikTokers, thanks for joining us. We're reading Carlos Castaneda. We're doing a capital R reading, which is a nuanced, multi-layered, sophisticated reading, extracting more, adding more, etc. And of course, you know what Beena and I do every day is share Moreness-Culture. And we're preparing to get ready to do the Moreness show, which is going to be a TV show on all different places. That's going to be coming in November. So this is very cool. So anyway, we're all about Moreness-Culture. This is something that I've created, and Beena helps me on it and helps me to share it and discuss it, and she's a major part of it, a big part of this, right? So very big deal, very big deal. Right, Beena?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so let's continue with the reading here. More people are joining, so hello there. I interpreted what he had said as meaning that crying was inferior to laughter, or at least perhaps an act that weakened us. He said that there was no intrinsic difference and that both were unimportant. He said, however, that his preference was laughter because laughter made his body feel better than crying. And it's a very nuanced point here that Don Juan is making a distinction between what he prefers and what his body prefers. And if we listen later on to Don Juan, this is going to be very important. He makes this clear distinction between the body, and its body's got its own, actually a quote from Don Juan. He says, the body has its own agenda. Direct quote from Don Juan. I don't know where that is. It's somewhere in here, but anyway. So he makes this clear distinction between body and self, right? Not the same thing. It's a very important distinction. At that point, I suggested that if one had a preference, there is no equality. And if he preferred laughing to crying, the former was indeed important. He didn't hear Don Juan. See? Carlos didn't hear the distinction. He said, my body, not me. Right? He stubbornly maintained that his preference did not mean that they were equal. Were not equal. Yeah, again, Carlos. The things themselves are equal. They're not necessarily equal internally. It's a very fine nuance, but the things themselves are equal. But when it comes to you personally, you are making a choice and then you make them unequal to you, but they stay equal intrinsically within themselves, right? That's on one is saying they're intrinsically equal. It's very important. It's very important. So hello, many more joining on TikTok, and we love that you join. This is quite marvelous. And sometimes it says it, by the way, in the where the TikTok chat, right? I've got it in a little separate pop-out window here. And then as you guys join, it says next to your name, say hi. But not to all of you. I don't know why. So whenever it says that, I click and say hi, but it doesn't have that bit behind all of your names. So I don't know why. TikTok is really weird, right? So lots of people joining. I love this. I love this. He stubbornly maintained that his preference did not mean they were not equal. And I insisted that our argument could be logically stretched to saying that if things were supposed to be equal, why not also choose death? Many men of knowledge do that. One day they may simply disappear. People may think that they have been ambushed, killed because of their doings. They choose to die because it doesn't matter to them. On the other hand, I choose to live and to laugh, not because it matters, but because that choice is the bent of my nature. The reason I say I choose it is because I perceive. It isn't that I choose to live. My will makes me go on living in spite of everything I may perceive. Now, if you're watching the screen share, you'll see that I am using the word perceive to replace the word see. And this is very important because we don't want to get this false association with the word see, because as Don Juan later says, it's not an accurate term. And so I'm using the term perceive. And if I were writing it, it would be capital P, perceive. Yes, because that's what Don Juan is talking about. He's talking about the perception of energy directly, without the translation mechanism that it goes through, which makes our reality. Yes, Einstein will tell you equal mc squared, or m is equal to E divided by c squared. In other words, the root of everything is energy, right? And we get to have matter, the things that we touch and feel and see and hear and everything else, that comes about because we've taken that raw energy and we slowed it down, right? M is equal to E divided by c squared. Energy divided, slowed down by this very large number, which is c squared, speed of light squared, right? So that's and the mechanism that does that dividing is consciousness, awareness, attention, conception. That's the mechanism, right? That's why Way of Impeccability, which is the core of Moreness-Culture, it is all about conception. It's also called the language of conceptionality. When we actually learn this language of conceptionality, we learn to perceive everything differently, and we can learn to change things, yeah? And perceive differently, experience differently. A very profound thing. All right, so this point he's making here, right? He says, the reason that I say I choose is because I perceive. But it isn't that I choose to live. My will makes me go on living in spite of everything I may perceive. So Don Juan has a complex cosmology, right? Everything is equal, doesn't matter. I mean, I can make a philosophical argument for that very easily. There's nothing is necessarily more important than anything else. It just is. Yeah. But how we are, our wills, how we are set together. And so in Don Juan's world, you have the self, you have the body, you have the will, you have all sorts of different parts to it, right? Complex way we are put together for Don Juan. You don't understand me now because of your habit of thinking as you look and thinking as you think. This is why language of conceptionality is so important, right? Now we take that further. Thinking is one thing, conceiving is quite another, right? And thinking is sometimes just naming things. There's not much depth to it. But when you're conceiving and you have conceptions, now you've got the power to your thinking. That's a very different deal, right? So I'm adding a little bit extra here, or a lot extra actually, to what Don Juan is saying. But Don Juan makes a profound point. He says that you have your habit of thinking as you look, right? We are very visually dominated, and visualness is very shallow. We don't see much depth when it comes to visual, right? I mean, there's not any nuance. You see something, that's it. We don't have the ability to see what's underneath. We don't see, like, for instance, like if you're seeing in infrared, you see heat, right? You see degrees of heat. We just see a person and that's it. You either see them or you don't, right? All right, sometimes they may be fuzzy because of fog or whatever, but that's it. You don't really see depth when you see stuff. It's very shallow. All right, when you look at the person, you see expression. But now you're starting via seeing the expression and their body language and stance. You're now connecting what you see to feeling. And now you start to get a bit of depth, but you have to bring feeling into it, right? And you also have to bring your awareness. What does this mean, right? Which is now we get to conceptuality. See, so seeing on its own, visual on its own, very flat. Hearing has a lot more to it because you hear pattern, you hear rhythm, you hear cadence, you hear emphasis, all sorts of stuff that's typically missing from our visual stuff. Now it can be, but it's typically missing, right? It's not usually there. So very powerful stuff. And again, please, all TikTokers, we love comments. Please make comments, share. We love those. I never see any comments from TikTok. I don't know if I'm just not connecting to where I see the comments, but I don't, So please, if you have comments, you let me know. I just thought of something now. Let me actually go to look at the TikTok in my browser, and it says live, and let me go and pull that live up. Hopefully it's showing me live there, and maybe that's where the comments are. I've never seen any comments. So if somebody would make a comment, I would appreciate this, just as a test comment there, right? I don't know, give me any kind of comment. Tell me I'm ugly or something. I don't know, whatever you want. Suggested live creators, Syl Sabastian. Yes, there I go. Okay, what is this? Is this a comment here? Inbox. Yeah, I don't know if comments are inboxes or not. No, this is just notifications. All right, comments. Would love to give it a read, says Brown Bunny. That's an old comment though. Brown Bunny has commented a couple of times. I love you, Brown Bunny. Brown Bunny. I don't always see your comments in real time, but this would be great. So please, I'm not sure what you're talking about, Brown Bunny. If you're talking about my book or the Carlos books, either way, that's just great. So again, I don't see these comments. I don't. Well, I'm assuming people aren't commenting. So all of you that are there now, just for the last couple that I'm looking here, Bill, Nolan, Irby, John Richardson, Cultural Fusion, Bruin Blossom, Kirk Shivas, User Long Number, Debme, Santiago, Lindaloo, Tuck, Indy. Just leave a comment, please. I want to see where they show up. TikTok is relatively new to me, and I want to figure this out. You guys join, but nobody's left me a comment. Please leave me a comment. Anything, a smiley face, a thumbs up, anything, doesn't matter. Yeah, I want to see where they show and that I can see them in real time, which I'm not seeing now. And I'd like to, that would be very cool. Yeah, I would have thought in this chat here, because when I comment in there, it says add comment, and I don't ever see anything back. All right, I'm going to type it there. All right, so please help me in my testing here. I'll continue reading in a moment. So please, TikTokers, please help me. Beena, you've got to get. Oh, you said they can't. Lubna and Dushka, they can't join live either, right?
No.
Okay, so we got to find somebody else. We got to find somebody else to help us out and join. Yeah. But anyway, please, guys, if you can, anybody, leave me that comment there. All right, let's get back to our reading here. All right. So, oh, excuse me. You don't understand me because you have a habit of thinking as you look and thinking as you think. This statement intrigued me very much. I asked him to explain what he meant to it. Now, this is Carlos and Don Juan talking here, right? He repeated the same construct various times, as if giving himself time to arrange it in different terms, and then delivered his point, saying that by thinking, he meant the constant idea we have of everything in the world. The constant idea of everything we have in the world. He said that perceiving dispelled this habit, and until I learned to perceive, I could not really understand what he meant. Now, what he thinks is by thinking, yes, it really is that act of M is equal to E divided by C squared. It is really taking energy and transmuting it into something. So our thinking is this constant act of maintaining this reality that we're in. That's what we're doing. We are constantly, every time we think, we are transmuting that energy into M. Matter, material, whatever you want to call it, right? Manifestation, a lot of ways for M, right? Manifestation, materialization, which is really making stuff into reality. But it's taking energy into what we call reality, which is little r reality. Capital R reality is all energy, right? So this is very key. It's very key to understand. Very big deal to understand. Very important to understand. So this is what Don Juan is talking about here, right? Let me repeat that sentence he said again, right? He repeated the same construct various times, as if giving himself time to arrange it in different terms, and then delivered his point, saying that by thinking, he meant the constant idea we have of everything in the world. Constant idea, yeah? The constant conception, in other words, right? But we are very poor at conceiving. We haven't learned the skill typically, yeah? Yeah. He said that perceiving dispelled this habit, and until I learned to perceive, I could not really understand what he meant. Beena?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, I thought you had something to add there.
No, I was just saying yes.
No,
Before that, but not now.
Gotcha. All right. But if nothing matters, Don Juan, why should it matter that I learn to perceive? I told you once that our lot as people is to learn, for good or bad. I have learned to perceive, and I tell you that nothing really matters. Now it is your turn. Perhaps someday you will perceive, and you will know then whether things matter or not. For me, nothing matters. But perhaps for you, everything will. You should know by now that a person of knowledge lives by acting, not by thinking about acting, nor by thinking about what he will think when he has finished acting, what they will think. A person of knowledge chooses a path with heart and follows it, and then they look and rejoice and laugh, and then they perceive and they know. Right? Now, also, if you notice this, I'm changing the default masculine gender to neutral. It's not because I have any other agenda, except I don't like to perpetuate the inadvertent misogyny that comes from using default masculine. Sorry, I've had this. I've never liked this since I was a boy. It always bothered me. Like, why? Why are you always elevating and only just to exclude women or anybody? It just it doesn't sit with me, right? So I do this as a default, yeah. And so when I read this, right, and Don Juan later, when Carlos addresses this, he says, "How come you're always using the masculine?" He says, "Well, I'm a man and you're a man, so I just default to masculine gender, right?" And it's also in Spanish. It's more so, and Carlos is translating from the Spanish because they're talking in Spanish, right? And this is a translation from that. So this is a very powerful point here that he makes, right? I'll read this again. A person of knowledge chooses a path with heart and follows it. And then they look and they rejoice and laugh. And then they see and they know. They know that their life will be over altogether too soon. They know that they, as well as everyone else, is not going anywhere else. They know because they perceive that nothing is more important than anything else. In other words, a person of knowledge has no honor, no dignity, no family, no name, no country, but only life to be lived. And under these circumstances, their only tie is to their fellow humans, fellow people, in their controlled folly. Thus, a person of knowledge endeavors and sweats and puffs. And if one looks at them, they are just like any ordinary person, except that the folly of their life is under control. Nothing being more important than anything else, a person of knowledge chooses any act and acts it out as if it matters to them. Yeah? Their controlled folly makes them say that what they do matters and makes them act as if it does, and yet they know that it doesn't. So when they fulfill their acts, they retreat in peace. And whether their acts are good or bad, or worked or didn't, is in no way part of their concern. It's a very, very huge paragraph, this. Does it make sense to you, Beena? Please give me some repeat back and feedback on this. Yeah?
Yes. Because this controlled folly, I was getting it wrong in the beginning, because like it was something you're doing by mistake, and then you are saying like, okay, yes, it was coming by you. That was my idea of controlled folly. But then when you describe this, it was like, okay, so now everything, when people make deliberate choices and they have a different paradigm, then everything they do, even their gestures, are controlled folly.
Everything,
Yes,
exactly.
yes,
Everything
yes,
controlled. Yes. And see, now you are acting because of your inner intrinsicness, that you understand this. You have your folly under control. When things are important, you are under the influence. You're being controlled by the importance of the thing itself. And look at the
true.
foolishness that our world is in, because people think their acts are important. Does it make sense when you look at it from that angle? See? Right? But when you realize that nothing is more important than anything else, whether we live or not, either way, life, people say, oh, but life's important. Not necessarily. From the universe point of view, the universe is going to continue to exist whether you exist or not. So yeah, it's not that important. Whether lives as humans exist in the context of eternity, whether humans exist or not, doesn't matter. There's going to be life somewhere, right? See what I mean? So nothing
Yes,
is important when you look at it in this context, yeah. And
yes,
but now the absolute key part that was important of what Don Juan said. He said that as a person of knowledge, you choose to act as if it were important. And that right there is massively significant. As if. Yes?
yes,
But they're not the acts of an actor. You are very sincere, genuine, and anybody seeing you say, oh, wow, he's sincere. Yes, but ultimately in the end, it doesn't really matter. Yeah? Does that make
yes,
sense, Beena?
absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, for me, that is a huge deal, and it's very profound, that understanding, right? And then you don't get caught up in this subversion by importance. That's all hierarchy. In Moreness, we're all about simply doing. It's all about application. This is key to Way-of-Impeccability, which is the root, the foundation of Moreness-Culture. Right? Application, doing. Yeah. And you do, whether it matters or not, but you're doing because you find personal value in it. Yes. And well, what else you can? It's also, like Don Juan said, it's a lot in life to learn as humans, as
True.
sentient beings. I don't even think this is restricted to humans. That's just part of the deal. So you are simply going via this core conception of appropriateness. Why I have created the philosophy of appropriateness. It is appropriate to learn. See? It is appropriate not to make things overly important. Yes, now again I'm saying overly important because that's when you say things are intrinsically important, then you get distorted by this. But when you say, yeah, it's important to me, it's a very different thing, right? I choosing this, right? Again, you don't even fuss and bother with importance. I choose it. And, all right, Don Juan says, yeah, if you choose it, it must be important. Yeah, technically so, but not necessarily so. It's important to me, but not intrinsically important. It's a very big distinction that we need to make. Very, very, very big distinction, right? Important to me does not mean it is important. Carlos didn't make that distinction. He got stuck there, yeah? And now when we look at this, we start to see this controlled folly, right? It is essentially controlled folly. Says everything is folly, but I've got my folly under control. In other words, I'm not being ruled by my folly. I am in charge of my folly, right? Which is for most people, when they say things are important, that folly makes them act all crazy. Yes? It's important that I have stated. It's important that I don't be dissed. It's important that I'm not insulted. And they oh my God, and all the rubbish that comes from that, right? It's important that I'm not irritated, bothered, annoyed, whatever. And they live all these crazy lives that are full of complication because of all these rules. Yeah?
Yes,
Yeah. I mean, just look at what we do and how people get all bent out of shape and because stuff is important to them, right? And they insist that it's important to them. Yeah? Make sense, Beena?
yes, yes,
But again, just because you choose it, right? You're making it relatively important to you. But again, I've chosen it, and because I'm in control of my choices, I could just as well unchoose it. Just because I've chosen it doesn't mean I'm locked into it. But when something is inherently, or at least you believe it's inherently important, there's no choice. You've got to do it. Yeah. And you can't unhook
Yes.
from it either because, well, it is important. Right? It is important to not to be insulted. I can choose. You want to have an insult, I can choose to respond to it or not. I can choose to ignore it. I can choose to be bothered by it, choose to be not. I'm in control of my folly. Or whatever, dude, Yeah. So this is a very important point. Very, very important point, right? Choice. To understand that when you have controlled folly, you're also in charge of choice. You have capital C choice. Yeah, nothing's important to you, so I can choose whatever, right? And that makes all the difference. It allows you to live freely, and it's a critical component of independence of being, and to have independence of being. Very, very important. Yeah, okay. Now let's get to hear Carlos's intellectual conundrums and problems here. I involved myself at this point in a very complicated effort to explain to Don Juan that I was interested in knowing what would motivate a person of knowledge to act in a particular way in spite of the fact that they knew nothing mattered. All right, now before Don Juan answers, I am going to bring in this concept of attunement. Right? Language of conceptionality changes everything, attunement. Right? Now, when we really understand that if nothing matters, but attunement, the universe brings something towards me. Oh, okay. This is a motivation to act. See? Makes sense, right, Beena?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Chuck, go ahead.
No, I was just saying that, yes, because it is shifting everything. It is
Oh, it's
shifting
huge.
everything.
Oh, it's massive. It's massively
Yes.
huge. It's massively huge. Because now attunement starts to, he says, well, what makes you a reason for living? Well, attunement. I personally can see, well, nothing is really important. However, if the universe is bringing me something, maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I don't know if it's important for the universe or not, right?
Yes.
Maybe. But this is very important now, though, because it may be, it at least inspires me to act. Because, well, everything else, it's all unimportant. And I have this personally. I'm not motivated to do anything except that which comes via attunement. Makes no difference to me any other way.
Yes.
He chuckled softly before answering. Let me go back to screen share. I'm unscreen sharing and rescreen sharing for the purposes of TikTok. Yeah. I don't know. This seems to be their weird way of doing things. Uh, Now, there we go. It moved the share button for some peculiar reason. Brilliant. Brilliant. You think about your acts, he said. Therefore, you have to believe your acts are as important as you think they are. When in reality, nothing of what one does is important. Nothing. But then, if nothing really matters, as you asked me, how can I go on living? It would be simple to die. That's what you say and believe, because you're thinking about life, just as you're thinking now what perceiving would be like. You wanted me to subscribe it to you so you could begin to think about it the way you do with everything else. In the case of perceiving, however, thinking is not the issue at all. So I cannot tell you what it is like to perceive. Now you want me to describe the reasons for my controlled folly. And I can only tell you that my controlled folly is very much like perceiving. It is something you cannot think about. He yawned. He lay on his back and stretched his arms and legs. His bones made a cracking sound. You have been away too long. You think too much. Now, in order to perceive, you have to stop your thinking. You have to stop your internal dialogue. It's going to come up later on, right? That's why Don Juan says that. And this is knowing directly. The silent knowledge comes up later on too. It's a complexity and a sophistication to Don Juan, which transcends the language that we have. However, that doesn't mean that we cannot use language to at least get somewhere where we can say it's like a ladder, get you onto the next plateau. Once you're on that plateau, you don't need the ladder anymore, right? So we have to understand language is a tool, not a destination, right? Very important. Very, very important to be aware of. Okay?
Yes.
So very
Also, that
cool.
that being like having no no thoughts about, actually means that having no perspective. And of course,
Correct.
having no perspective can only come when you unhook from the superiority paradigm, that I know it all, or I can guess, I can figure it out. Things are way more than our awareness, and of course, much bigger, much different. And this is something we ego always just try to keep us like connected to or cling to this idea that yes, I know and I can understand. We can, of course,
Yeah.
but not necessarily from the beginning. That, of course, unless we don't give time to let things unveil themselves, we try to do it by force. And that is having a specific perspective about that. Oh, I know that. Okay, I know this. Okay. And also assuming that this can't be out of my awareness. This is totally opposite to what Moreness culture is.
Yes, exactly. And there's another important point about stopping the internal dialogue or silence. Right? You go to any of the Eastern traditions, they don't use that terminology, stopping the internal dialogue. This originates from Don Juan, as far as I know. At least that's the only place I've seen it. And long story, but I've read a lot and all the stuff, so I never seen it anywhere else. However, uh, silence. This is the way to get to Nirvana, Satori, all of this stuff, and those koans of Zen, which is an unanswerable question. The answer is silence for all those questions. The answer is not answering. Excuse me. But here's the problem. If you think about silence in our culture, at least Western culture, silence is so easily misunderstood or interpreted or connected or associated with nothingness, which is inaccurate. It's simply silence of the internal dialogue, not lack of sound. Right? So internal silence, it's really silence. They say pursue silence. Well, silence is no sound. Nothing. Okay. So it's poor communication. Stopping the internal dialogue, better terminology. But stopping the internal dialogue does not mean we stop to feel. Like Beena said, doesn't mean we don't have perspectives. Yes, we don't have conception. And also to add to that, doesn't mean we stop feeling.
Exactly.
Yeah?
Exactly.
We can know without words. I remember as a child, I knew many things without having the word for it, appropriateness being one of them. Yes, it was a very important concept to me right from very early, from age 6, very specifically. Yeah. But I didn't have the word appropriateness then yet. Yes, I probably, if you'd asked me, maybe I had it the way my parents used it, be appropriate or whatever. But that's a different meaning to it, right? It's a very narrow meaning, like more like proper, which is not appropriateness. But I do the same thing with impeccability. I didn't have that term until Don Juan came along. But I used the word rightness internally. Yeah. So very powerful, this understanding, this knowing that we can know and understand without words. Okay? Yeah. I mean, I take fear. Fear is a feeling typically. It's not a thought and a word, right? Our thoughts can make us afraid, but sometimes when you feel something, feel aggression, you feel afraid, you're not thinking, oh, this person wants to harm me, this thing wants to eat me. You're just aware of it and you feel fear. End of story, right? It's direct. You can skip the thinking about it. Yeah. As a matter of fact, the thinking about it sometimes get people killed. Yeah?
Yes, yes.
You with me? They start thinking about it, and then by the time they finish thinking about it, they've been eaten up or killed. This actually,
Yes.
if you watch some of the shows, like real detective shows or whatever, right? And you listen to people who have been abducted, or at least ones that later got away, they almost always say the same thing. They say, "Oh, I couldn't believe it was happening at the time. So I just I just sort of went along with it." This is a common story. I couldn't believe it was happening. And the next thing I knew, I was in the car. Yeah. And that's the problem. We were thinking, oh, this can't possibly be happening. This can't possibly be happening. And yet it is happening. They are unable to process the reality with their thoughts. Yeah. Sometimes you got to act. Yeah, this is inappropriate. This is no good. Yeah. And you got to go. And also,
I
there's a
gave the
moreness to
idea.
that. We have to realize. Right.
Again, the idea
Well,
is specific idea about people that, oh, no one can be
right.
that criminal, no one can be that stupid, no one can be that sensitive.
That's the key. When you sum it up as a conception, they are unable to process that people can actually be preposterous. And yes,
Yes,
it can happen, right? So when you
yes.
realize this and you make that connection, then you are able to react and respond right away. Yeah. Very,
I
very
have
powerful.
experienced
Very,
this many times.
very powerful.
I have
Yeah.
experienced this many times, and I actually exercise this thing that again and again. And no, like this was out of my awareness that people can be so petty in their behaviors and all these things. But they were it was happening. I cannot completely deny that. And I was in a denial mood that, okay,
Yeah.
no, this can't be true. So something is wrong, something is off. But I was not able to actually identify that. And it happens many times in our life. That's why having the understanding of the superiority paradigm is a big, huge deal. Because once you are aware, then you can acknowledge what's real and what is happening, what are the possibilities, even in, of course, good and negative both way, positive and negative. And then you will make your moves more strategically, more deliberately. And then, of course, you are not going to blame on fate, on life, on universe, on other people. You will be completely in charge of
I have no idea what that was.
your life. Okay. Okay. So we are almost at the time now.
Yeah,
And
let's wrap it up. Yeah. Good
yes,
point
so
to
we
leave there because it's a
yes.
deep, deep point about this controlled folly and about choice, about appropriateness, yeah, understanding, internal dialogue, lots of stuff to think about. Very big deal. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing. And thank you so much, everyone who joined us on TikTok. Unfortunately, I cannot see that. Okay. Who's joining us on there? And if you joined us on
Yeah.
Instagram, also on YouTube, if you were there and if you have something in like really important to share, please do share. We love to respond to that. Yes, it might take time because we are learning TikTok. We are newbies there, but we are learning and we will learn soon. Soon you will watch us on some other platforms also. And this is something we are working on. Before going there, again, as usual, I will always, this is how I always emphasize, not only for you guys, but also for myself, that how important to pay attention and how important to make deliberate choices in our life. We cannot scroll through life like just days passing by, like TikTok or Instagram or YouTube. You cannot do this with your life. Be deliberate, make your choices because today's choices are actually writing your future. And no one else is writing your future. Our future completely is a script we are writing right now. Every detail, every nuance, everything, because we are making choices. Even when we are assuming that we don't have a choice, still we are making a choice. When we leave something that, oh yes, I'm not going to be in a decisive decision-making position, you made the choice to be not there. You made that choice. Again, no matter what we are doing, how we are doing, we are making choices. And if it is something we cannot run away from that, then why not make deliberate choices? So we can
In
completely
other
own
words,
our
not choosing. Say, Beena,
yes.
right? Just to reiterate what you're saying, not choosing is a choice. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly,
Please
exactly
continue.
as you always say that, okay, not choosing is also a choice. And this is what we do. Sometimes we just shy away from that. Oh, I'm not going to. This is choice I made. I was offered, I was in a position to make a choice, make decisions, but I said no, someone else is going to do it, so I can blame in future. So I can cry and just be like really a crybaby there in the future. Do not let your future randomly just develop. So make deliberate choice. And one of the making deliberate choice is also training your online and offline algorithm. Train your algorithm because data is the real currency now. And what you are providing on internet, this is going to be your everyday algorithm uploads in your news feed. So please do pay attention to that because you can be really overwhelmed by that. You can be depressed. You can be really behind also to update
Yeah.
yourself, to groom yourself,
Yeah.
pay attention to what you are watching, what you are scrolling, where you are clicking like, clicking notification bell, because it's a reminder you're setting that this is what I want. Train your algorithm really, really well and scrupulously.
That applies in life.
Because it is going to be, ultimately, it is going to be your life algorithm. Yes. So thank you so much for joining us. We will see you guys.
Attention.
Sorry, it was an overlap. Right. Please.
I say the algorithm online, you're paying attention, clicks, likes, whatever comments, that's attention. But in life, it's the same. What you pay attention to, capital A attention, not just when you're paying attention, this is stuff you bring into your life. It's very simple. Yes. Right? It's very simple.
It is very simple, but this is very sophisticated. Please do pay attention to that.
Exactly. In Moreness-Culture, Way of Impeccability, we have a very profound saying. One of the quotes from the program is, pay attention to attention.
Yes.
Oh, pay attention to attention.
Yes. 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 Because wherever you pay attention, it's a connection. And how many connections you are actually making, and with whom, with what you are making connections with. This is something we need to pay attention always. Thank you so much for joining us. Tomorrow is our off day, and we will see you guys on Sunday. So thank you so much, Syl.
Yeah, maybe we might do a live tomorrow. Depends.
Maybe it depends.
We've never have on a Saturday because we missed a couple this week, so we were just very busy and stuff was happening. Yes, try and be on every day. Try and be on every day. So, yeah.
Okay. Okay, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye for now.
Bye bye. Yeah.